A very good morning to you all, and welcome to my Monday messages. And for anyone who doesn't know me, my name's Rebecca. I'm a homeopath, holistic life coach, and natural health advocate. And my Monday messages are just an opportunity for me to share any tips, thoughts, any kind of prompts that might stimulate you to help us to become more conscious of what can sustain us and sustain our optimum health, and what may perhaps be taking from it, and to make the kind of choices that will sustain us rather than taking from us. So welcome, and particularly to this lovely fresh morning here in County Kerry, where I am. And I'm sure that if you're watching and you live within the Republic of Ireland, you will be rejoicing that many of the rights that were taken from us a long time ago have now been restored. I hope for good. Who knows? But lovely to be able to go into restaurants again and go into hotels, and for things to stay open later, and for us to congregate together, to be in community as we are meant to be. So that's nice, that's good. And so enjoy that feeling if you're celebrating. I had a beautiful day yesterday, and I spent it walking the length and breadth of one of my favourite beaches here in North Kerry, a beach called Banner. Beautiful, beautiful beach. And I went with a very dear friend, and we sat and put the world to rights with flasks of lovely tea and homemade vegan cake, and it was delicious. And watching the surfers as the sun came down, it was a perfect way to spend the day. So I hope you had a lovely Sunday as well. And it was much needed, my Sunday, because I have been nursing basically for the last few weeks, series of illnesses, not COVID related, I might add, with various family members, both visitors and permanent family members, and culminating in my dear sister, unfortunately, having a very bad fall and breaking her arm quite severely 2-3 days ago, and having to be rushed to A&E here at our local hospital. And my brush with that experience, although it wasn't my personal experience, obviously it was my sister's, and she relayed everything back to me, and I had to kind of help her through it, really pulled me up short for several reasons. Because I kind of had an idea that the public health system was not really one that you wanted, certainly that I want to enter into, and that it was struggling and people were having difficulties. And I get that fed back to me by many of my clients. But it's not until you actually experience it closer to home that, all of its holes became glaringly apparent. My sister was one of about 20 people left on trolleys in a corridor, and just pumped full of pain relief, basically, because that's all that could be done. She was told that it might be, although she needed emergency surgery, that it might be up to 3 days before that surgery could take place. But then that was unlikely because there weren't any beds available, and you can only have surgery if you have a bed. So being on a trolley that doesn't count. And there wasn't any option to leave and come home and sleep here, to my home, I mean, because if you leave the hospital, then you go to the bottom of the list again. So to cut a very long story short, She and her doctor, the surgeon, agreed that her best option was to actually be discharged from the hospital, to get on a plane and go back to the UK and go straight to her own local hospital and the A&E department there. And she would be seen and have her surgical manipulation done quicker than if she stayed in the local hospital, which I find just extraordinary. Because obviously traveling in that much pain and trying to protect a very severely broken limb all that way, it is, for that to be the best option now, that is not a system that is fit for purpose, basically. And I want to add here, because I don't want this to be a complete, a rant about the unfitness of the public health system, certainly the A&E department. What my sister was very clear about was that all the staff that she encountered were brilliant, really caring, professional, trying to do their jobs to the best of their ability, but stuck within a system that is just rubbish, frankly. And most of it not to do with funding. And I think that's a huge red herring for any country to get stuck in. This is very seldom to do with a lack of funding. It's more to do with the system itself and how it is being run and what it is actually using as healthcare as well. Anyway, it put in mind to me several things. One was, thank God that I have chosen the right kind of health insurance so that I don't have to go into that arena unless I have some kind of unforeseen accident. That was my number one thought, is thank goodness that I have had absolutely no dealings with GPs or the public health system for decades, actually. I think the exceptions have been when my son broke his arm 10 years ago or something. None of my family do. So we don't use that health system because we don't buy into that whole paradigm. And it works. For us, it works. We have had no need to step into that arena, as I say, for decades. But I felt so sorry for the people, the staff working within that system. And my sister was listening to all the stories, the different cases, different people coming in with different things. Or she isn't a health practitioner, but she's chosen to live her life in the same way that I do, really, which is to take care of ourselves, to make healthy choices in every single part of our lives. And that is our health insurance. So she was listening to everyone's stories and really concluding that the only resources available to these well-meaning staff was basically just pain relief. I can just give you more pain relief. And that might be for days at a time. And whilst, strong painkillers can be very valuable on occasion, I completely get that. They're not really supposed to be given long term because they cause damage. So whilst people are being pumped full of these painkillers and waiting on trolleys, they are actually getting sicker and sicker. They're not getting more well. Anyway, I digress. Health insurance. It made me think about my choice of health insurance. And for I know some of you listening, you might be thinking, okay, yes, I've got a very good health insurance, private health insurance policy. I'm not talking about that. That can be part of your health insurance, for sure. And there is an argument to be had, I think, for making sure that you have the funds available if you do have an accident of some sort, if you do need to step into that, kind of surgical arena, if you like. And it was a long time ago, decades ago, when I was actually caring for my father, who is long gone. He was a great advocate of private healthcare because he didn't want to be on a public ward. He didn't want to be with other people. He wanted to be on his own. He didn't like being sick in front of other people, basically. And he was devastated when he reached a stage with his illness where his consultant actually said, "Mr. Gregory, if you want to get the kind of healthcare that you need at this stage of your life, you have to come out of the private system and you have to go into the public system, because that's where the expertise is, actually. As overstretched as they are, that is where the expertise is for chronic health problems. The private healthcare system is not for chronic healthcare. It is for quick in and out, elective surgeries. It's a money-making machine, basically." And he had to come out of that system and go into the public health system in order to get the care that he needed at the end of his life. And that I was reminded of all of this and what it gave me in terms of minding myself so that I don't need either of those options. Because to me, investing all my hard-earned money on a massive premium every month in a healthcare system that I don't subscribe to doesn't make any financial sense. And my health insurance is much more about what can I do to absolutely keep to a minimum my pharmaceutical intake. And that, to me, is the pinnacle of health, is when we do not need to be on pharmaceutical medicines. I think most people would agree. Oh, good morning, Gronya. Thank you so much for joining me. Maybe you agree, Gronya. Just in isolation, I think that for most of us, if we think about, well, what's our definition of health? What's the highest pinnacle of health? That would be to not have to take any pharmaceutical medicines, if possible, or certainly to minimise them. So therefore, why have we chosen, the vast majority of us, to hold a system of medicine up as the gold standard, a system of medicine that inherently relies on people taking pharmaceutical medicines, as much of them as possible? It's big business. And yet that is the gold standard. And anybody who is saying, well, actually, I don't really want to subscribe to that. I would prefer to use natural medicines as my first port of call, and pharmaceuticals as a last resort, not a first resort, a last resort. Though, that's my healthcare paradigm, if you like. And fortunately, it's worked for me, and I honestly can't remember. I had some surgery about last year sometime on a tooth. That was the last time that I had to take anaesthetic, obviously, for the surgery. Nothing else. Apart from that, I haven't taken any kind of pharmaceutical medicines for decades. I don't use paracetamols. Nothing like that. And as I say, I am pretty healthy. I have, as my health insurance, a really wide and varied toolbox of different kinds of medicines and healthcare modalities. I'm open to almost anything. I will try things. I will see what works for me, what doesn't work for me, what resonates with me, what doesn't kind of make sense, what I feel like at any given time is appropriate to what's going on with me. And I don't spend a fortune on my health. I find it hard to disentangle it actually from just the way I live. And that to me is the pinnacle of true health insurance, is that we are encompassing healthy choices in every aspect of our lives, not just waiting for things to go wrong and then trying to fix it. So prevention, always better, cheaper and quicker than cure. And really, and I've said it many, many times before, just in investing in one tool to suit all needs is a little bit short-sighted, I think. Why not embrace any tools? If it's worked for some people, why wouldn't it work for you? Now, it might not, but we don't know that unless you try it. So at this time of year, when many of you may be reviewing your private health insurance policies, because that's the way it works here in Ireland. In England, you pay anyway, and that's what the national health system is. Not free, by the way, you pay. You just don't pay when you use it. You pay in your taxes and your national insurance policies and everything else. So if you are more interested in an ongoing system of healthcare, one that means that you really are informed about everything that you choose to put into your body or onto your body, or that you breathe, or, anything at all. If you're aware of that on an ongoing rolling basis, then it just becomes part of how you live, and you can't really separate it out as a separate cost. But for those of you who may be reviewing your private health insurance premiums, why not have a look, have a really good look, and I don't mean to be patronising about this because I'm sure you do, but have a look at what the components are of that policy and see, do they match where you are in terms of viewing your own self-care and the way that you want to choose to manage your health? Because some of those just in case parts of the policy may not be necessary for you. Then you might be paying into something that you're never going to get back, and you're never going to claim on it because it's just not appropriate to you. It's not going to happen to you. And once we start to look at that and take control of our own health a bit more and recognise what we are, the areas that we're vulnerable in and the areas that we're actually quite strong in, we can start perhaps to realise that dis-ease and illness is not some random act of God that meanders along and happens to bump into you. It actually comes as a consequence of the way that we lead our lives and the way that we came into this life as well, for sure. It's a combination of things. It's an accumulation of choices that we make about what we put into our body and what we put onto our body. And if we can start taking control of that, then we are minimising the risks which insurers are trying to cover you for and charge you for. For those of you who don't know as well, there's a brilliant insurance policy that many of my clients use called the Hospital Saturday Fund. And that is a policy that covers most holistic therapies rather than, needing to go to a GP or a hospital or anything like that, or use pharmaceuticals. So that might be something that would be more appropriate to you, because I know that a lot of people spend a fortune on private health insurance, and it may be a little bit kind of knee-jerk and not necessary, and actually there might be more appropriate ways for you to do that health insurance. But for me, the best form is a continuous, ongoing investment in things that are healthy, not only for me, but for my family and for the planet, hopefully, as well. So I hope that all makes sense. I hope it's useful to you. And I hope to God that you don't need to step into the public health system if you're here in Kerry, certainly anytime soon. And I just want to add, actually, that the fact that there weren't any beds and that my sister was potentially going to be on a trolley for 3 days waiting for emergency surgery, the staff made it quite clear that it was nothing to do with COVID. So thanks for the thumbs up, that this had been the state of play for quite a long time, and local friends of mine who've been brought up here have confirmed that. So this system has been broken for a very long time, and going private, I don't know whether that is the right way to go. I mean, obviously it is a way to go, and you could, if you think that you are going to need surgery on an ongoing basis or whatever, then of course, that could be part of your health insurance. But don't make it all of it. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. What else could you do to really mind yourself and minimize the risk of you needing any of that? And if you would like to talk further about this and grab hold of your health a bit more than you have been doing, perhaps, then please do get in touch. You can click on the link with this video. You can book a free clarity call, and I can help answer any questions that you might have. If you just feel like having a chat about it and getting some clarity about what you could do going forward in this new year, about minding yourself and minimizing your health insurance risks, then please do get in touch. Have a lovely week. Wishing you all the best, and enjoy our new, or renewed, I should say, civil liberties. So go and have a pint, or go and have a dance, or whatever floats your boat. Have a good week. Bye.